So, Nicholas, thank you so much for agreeing to spend 10 minutes with me or so, all about your book, Monetizing the Employee Experience, which mine is very, very well thumbed and abused, I would say. Nicholas,
thank you. Very kind of you, Jules.
Thank you so much. I am a huge advocate of everything in the book. I mean, taking care of the customer, taking care of the employee, and the employees, of course, taking care of the customer. And I'm always training my delegates to come up with ways to energize and engage and motivate, their people. I mean, in your experience, Nicholas, what are the 3 most effective ways, if I can ask you, please, to enhance an employee's experience?
Yes, that's a great question. There's probably many ways you could slice and dice this one. So the way I would tackle it is, in the book, we talk about the employee experience, obviously, and we see the employee experience as, I always do hand movements for this one. We see it as being made up of culture and productivity. And one of the things we created for productivity is the 3 E's of productivity, which are emotion, environment, and energy. So in the book, we talk about the importance of focusing on those. So very quickly, they're fairly obvious. They are what they say on the tin. Emotion, how people feeling, that's very important. I think throughout the pandemic, there's been a lot more of a focus on well-being, which is fantastic. Environment, it could be the physical environment. It could also be the tools to do the job. And then energy. Energy is the one that we say you should start off with if you're struggling a bit and want some quick wins, because it's something that you can turn around pretty quickly. There's some great research by the CIPD recently about employee engagement in the round, but there's also a paper in that on motivation. So if you want the academic side of things, I would say definitely go to that. If you want the slightly less academic Nicholas version, there are kind of 2 different versions of motivation. There's what I call the Red Bull motivation, which are the team huddles. It's the Martin Luther King speeches, the Churchillian speeches that kind of give you that boost, that kind of sugar kind of hit boost. That's fairly well thumbed. I think quite a lot of people do that in team meetings and things like that. But what I think hasn't been looked at much by organisations is the intrinsic motivators, what really gets you out of bed in the morning. Loads of organisations do personality profiling. That's fine, that's perfectly valid. I get why they do that. I'm not sure so much of it is that actionable though. But I think if you look at what people's intrinsic motivations are, that can really become actionable.
I love that. And I've been a big fan of the huddle. I used to do 10 at 10 every morning with my people, just standing up for 10 minutes, just asking, how are you? Have you got the fuel in the tank? What's going on today? Really good share.
Yeah, great idea. Yes, that is checking in. I mean, because people haven't been in the physical same space, we have seen an increase in managers who perhaps might not do it quite so much, just checking in with people. And it's been one of the very good byproducts from the pandemic, that and seeing people more as human beings, as you see their children and their dogs and all sorts flying behind you as you talk.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nicholas. There's an alarming statistic very early on in the book from Gallup, and I'll just read it here. And it says only 15% of employees worldwide feeling engaged, leading to global costs of unproductivity of a staggering $7 trillion. Okay, I get that, but I want to know why. Why is that happening? Why are managers giving such a rubbish experience to their employees and expecting them to go out there and be really productive and give 100% customer service excellence and a first-class job every single day? Is it that they're too task focused maybe? Is it that they're too stretched, they just don't have the time, too overloaded? Or is it simply that they just don't have the skills to lead people towards achieving?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience and from talking to networked colleagues and from my co-author's experience as well, it's usually some or many of the above that you've just described, Jules. I mean, the reason why we wrote the book in the first place is because we didn't think that the EX had the focus, had the investment. I'm going to repeat the same hand movement. I've only got one in the locker. We see CX and EX as being two sides of the same coin. You need both. I'm trying desperately not to repeat the famous Richard Branson quote about, clients don't come first, John. employees come first and all that kind of thing. But it's true, right? You know, if you give someone a rubbish employee experience, should you really expect them to give a great customer experience? With the possible caveat that if you rule by fear, it can possibly work then, you know, a great, you know, customer experience will fire you or bad things will happen. It does happen in some organizations, more in the past, thankfully, these days. I think we've moved on from that. So yes, I mean, I think, you know, being in and around boardrooms for quite a few years, and Mike as well, when you talk about investment, if it's for the customer, yeah, fine, how much do you need? Even more so these days, IT, yeah, how much do you need? Governance, you know, these things have made the case. You know, we didn't think, and we still don't think that the case has been made for the investment in EX, and this is what that book is trying to do. And as much as I think many of them pretend not to be, organizations are still very hierarchical at heart. A lot of it still flows down from the senior leaders. So if the senior leaders don't take the employee experience seriously, then why should anybody else? So I think at that top level, it needs the investment in terms of money. Not that much money, actually. I don't think you really need. A lot of it can be done by your existing employees, just with a bit of elbow grease. But it's more that investment in time, I think, is the key thing, and to talk about it a lot more. You know, I've throughout my career gone to many discussions about comms, where it's been internal, external. External comms takes up 95% of the time. In the end, it's just the internal. It should be 50-50.
Yeah. Thank you. I totally get that. And you know what, the club managers I work with, you know, they get it. They're enthusiastic, you know, they're really passionate people, and they've got some great skills that they're honing. And they do understand it, but they ask me loads of times, Nicholas, and then they say, like, Jules, you know, we get it, and we understand, you know, why we need to motivate and engage our people, and empower them, and, you know, really sort of build and develop them. But they say, what of the people we inherit? What of the guys, you know, that have been at the club for 30 years and they're just not interested? They've checked out. They come in, they clock out, and they're practically sleepwalking through their day. You know, what can we do with those? The ones that don't want to get engaged or motivated with us. Have you got any tips for them?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose in some senses, a slight challenge is that I think sometimes it's fine if people just want to come to work and just do their job and go home. I think sometimes it depends what the role is. But if people are being productive and are doing everything that's asked of them, I think it's fine. I don't think everybody particularly needs to be 100% motivated and all that kind of thing. I think with a lot of people, there are certain tasks that you can just do the job and then go home. Clearly, you would want the bulk of your people to be mega motivated. And for those people that you do want to turn around, I mean, I would very much focus on personalising the employee experience. I think a lot of L&D teams, they, for reasons I understand, do one-to-many. So they will put out webinars or courses at set times that suits them. It's once a week, it's at 11 o'clock. You can't make it tough. It's that kind of thing, which is fine. I can see why they do that, and there's a place for that. But I think people really want to be understood on an individual level. So I think a great focus needs to be on personalising the employee experience. And one tool that we talk about in the book is a motivation platform called Mojo. And this does exactly that. So 60-second whistle-stop tour of Mojo. So in short, you take an online map. There's about 45 questions. It's just done with a slider. And then, hey presto, you get a report, and in that report there are 9 recognised motivators. It ranks them in order of what's most important to you. It gives you a score out of 10 with how satisfied you are with those motivators. And once you know what someone is motivated by and how satisfied they are by that, they can do something with it. Classic example during the pandemic: if someone has friend high as a motivator, they like to be sociable, they like to network. A lot of people's friend score has been quite low during the pandemic. A lot of people have been working from home. So a manager would looking at that would know they need to check in with this person a bit more, and perhaps some of the others who have that very low. So it's very, very actionable. So I would really look at a tool like Mojo, or just generally speaking, if you don't use a tool like that, just find out what people are motivated, just ask them. And I think as much as possible, certainly a role of a line manager is to get to know what makes people tick at work the simplest thing is just to ask them.
Just ask them, indeed, Nicholas. I love that. And you may have just answered one of my my next questions, which is like, if there was a valuable piece of advice, a golden ticket, if you like, you know, on successful management, I'm assuming it would be get to know your people and personalize it. But is there anything else that you would add to that? You know, what free advice can you give?
Yeah, I mean, a big one for me would be the fact that your people know the work best. So if you're going to look to improve things, ask the people that do the work. If you're looking to make improvements to your IT help desk, for example, and in this improvement work, ask the people who are on the IT help desk. If you want to improve the call centre, involve the people in the change who work in the call centre. So many times you have consultants who come in and they do things in little kind of rooms, and the occasional senior leaders invited to discuss, and then change is then done to people. And that I've never actually seen it work. It must have worked at some point in the past, otherwise they wouldn't do it. I think it very seldom works. So I think if you want to improve any kind of task or activity at work, involve the people who actually do that task day to day.
I love that, Nicholas. Thank you very much indeed. Once again, the book is called Monetising the Employee Experience, all about EX and indeed getting the CX out of that. So thank you so much for your time today, Nicholas. It's been absolutely valuable, and I'm sure everyone I'm sharing this with has gained a lot of benefit from listening to you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jules. My pleasure.
Thank you.